Hello friends, my name is Renuka. Welcome back to my channel, and today we are making some cards. It's the Christmas cards with the Hero Art My Monthly Kit. I already shared unboxing and idea video here. Today we are gonna make 7 cards with this kit, and soon I will come with the next part also. So I'm kind of making a pretty obvious some cards, some simple cards, some mass producing cards, and I come with a little bit of different ideas this time. But if you want to use this kit pretty typically, you can follow the first 2 cards, as well as you can watch my last year's My Monthly Hero Kit Christmas card series, where I put all those cards. You can go ahead and use this stamp to create that kind of cards also. I'll link that at the end of this video. So I just took 2 papers from my stash, and these are little bit glossy and little bit having shimmer in them, and then I'm using the ink came with the kit, that is the unicorn white ink, and I'm kind of stamping those snowflakes all over them. Here I'm kind of simultaneously making the 2 cards and creating the scenes that what this kit is made for. But yeah, these are the 2 but obvious cards you can make with this kit, and one of these I make the whole scene with the snowflake, and in one of them I decided to stamp the happy holiday with the white unicorn ink. But if you are doing, I'll suggest you go ahead and rather than using this ink, you can put a white embossing powder on it, and that gonna look really more vibrant on it. Then I just took a 2A7 card base. Yeah, you heard me right. If you want to create a big scene, you need a bigger space to create and space everything. So I'm using here 5x7 pre-fold pre-cut card bases by Recollections, and then I'm kind of layering all of these die came with the kit, and this paper is also came with kit, and I cut out some snow mountains with it. One of them I put white, and for other I add little bit of color afterwards. Then I cut out some of the trees with the same cardstock, and I'll put that cardstock and link it that cardstock in the supplies. And you can see that I already cut my paper in a 5 width, so I want whatever I want, I'm just cutting, and maybe it's a trees, or maybe it's a scene, maybe it's a city scene, so I'll get each time accurate one. Or if you struggle with that like me by putting them straight, you can add little bit of more, like a 5 and a 1/4, so you can trim it off afterwards. Now here I'm using this curvy dies from the salmons, and I'm creating snowflakes with that, snow mountains with that, but you can create it by hand. Why I didn't kit by hand? Cause if you want to use the scissors, that would not give a nice finished touch, then you should use the knife, so get the nice touch. I'm using alcohol marker, and these are my chart with the spectrum nori markers, and most of the times I use only 2 markers. These images are pretty small, and the nib of the marker is little bit thick than this, so you have to become very careful while using that. And these images are so small that you don't get a room to color and shade them in the 3 shades. But if you want to, you can add, and you can see that how that color gonna spread everywhere. I stamp all my images with the Simon's Intense Black ink, and some of them I colored and some of them I don't. I find that it's a little bit easier sometimes to not color everything, although these images are pretty small and simple, so there is nothing much to show you. Most of the times I stamp 2 or 3 things, so sometimes I don't like the color combinations, and then I can choose another one to put on the card, or I can save that for later on to put some cards together. One of the viewers asked me that what you do with all of those images, so I made some tags with it. I make some cards with it, sometimes on camera, sometimes off the camera. But if you have lots of things, yeah, you can go ahead with that, or although you can create small things whatever you like to, or match and perfectly, and then go ahead. Then I'm using Salty Ocean Distress ink and coloring little bit of those snow drifts, so it kind of giving me a little bit nice dimension to it. Some of them I'm using a white paper, and some of them for using layering I'm using little bit of shimmer and glittery vellum paper here. And I just like the layer and I just shift them upwards and downwards. In the volume there is no right or wrong side, so you can just convert them to create a multiple layers here. And then I just stick all those small critters and those images and those houses there. So you can create any scene with this, but now you can see that how 5x7 card gonna help size gonna help me to create the scene. It give me lots of room, so I can put all those images and critters very nicely. Sometimes it will not clutter all over, so yeah, I like that way. And then I decided to stamp a small snowman there and little bit of lines which came in a kit. These lines I don't like that much. Other than that, I can draw these lines with the pen. Most of the times I use my Prisma pens, or I use the Sharpie one with the thin nib to it. And yeah, then I'm putting that liquor pen. It's like a little bit of glossy accent on that to give more dimension. And then decided to stamp something more. And it's like my head is coming here and there, but I just want to stamp it very straight, so I stamp the lamp, or you can create anything whatever you want. Then I stamp that wolf also there. So yeah, I'm just filling the places, but at the same time I'll make sure that it will not over cluttered there. And these are the pretty simple cards, but yeah, you take a little bit of longer time because there is lots of layering and lots of coloring for those small critters and images. You can go ahead and stamp with these trees with the different colored ink also, like the brown or dark green or olive green color also do. And then I'm kind of sticking all those things together and adding a little bit of more color. And yeah, that's how it's worked. These unicorn inks took a little bit longer time than I think, so I smudge off little bit of snow there, so I just stamp them again. Now for the second card, I decided to add a little bit of color. I used the salty ocean and I add that. Everything else is just simple and same as we did for the first card. Just little bit of stamping and little bit of layering I decided to do differently. Now here I add a darker shade of bluish shade here, and then I put that on the green. You can create these trees or the kind of more trees there, kind of forest in front of the snow drifts or snow mountains. Then I add again this pearl cardstock. Rather than choosing the white one, I choose a little bit of color in there. There's a tint of pearl there. Then decided to add more color, so move on. And then I saw that there is something, so I just rub it off with a eraser. And then I stamp those train and color it and stamp some of the houses. And yeah, everything got a pretty simple. Just the main thing is you have to line up everything. And if you feel that you can't stamp that train properly or something, you can practice somehow, but that gonna, it's okay. These are pretty small images, so that not gonna make a difference. But if you want it's perfect and simple, you should just do something like that. Then I just already colored some of these train station, then house, and that clock tower. Then decided to stamp the sentiment Merry Christmas, and then just add a little bit of more color to add those house and a tree tower. I just want a little bit of bluish color, but like everything is, rather than blue, I choose the shades of aqua and little bit of red there as the Christmas red and green. I don't want to ignore this. I really like the traditional theme of the Christmas. Then I'm using here just smooching technique. I just cut out one drift by the paper and putting the salty ocean again it to create a snow drifts here. And this is the very old technique, old school technique, when you can use the pastel or powder pastel colors to create that kind of effect. I think I learned this when I was like in 4th or 5th. So yeah, but it still worked for me. And then I just color a little bit of those train, put red and brown there, some of the trees, and then I put all the things. And then I forgot, I put the 2 Christmas, like one Santa in the air and one Santa on the train station. I should put that Santa and shell out image for the different card, but somehow I didn't remember that, and I just noticed that when I took the pictures. But at that time it's so stick to it. I don't want to rip off the card. Anyways, then I decided to put the Mrs. Santa and Santa in the red and green color, and then put a little bit of skin tone to them and add a little bit of colors. You can put the pie in the Mrs. Santa's hand, but this time I just decided to put them like they are waving there, and this completes the two cards. Those are quite similar, and that one. And then came with specialty paper. I already cut out the big star from it, and then kind of putting all the colors like in the shades of purple, pink, orange, and one is like more Canberry kind of colors. And now I'm kind of showing you the different options that you can put. I go ahead here with the silver. In the real life it looks so awesome, but camera didn't make justice to it, so it will look little dull here, and my lighting is very high intensity, so the cardstock is pretty shimmery, so it is not getting that thing. But anyway, I decided to stamp here Christmas tree with the sentiment, so I choose one of the lines of the series, and this is the season there. I just most of the times I tried the inks in the back side of the sheet, so you will get how it can look. But I still suggest you, if you want to do this technique, go ahead and heat emboss everything. Heat embossing will give a nice things, and it's gonna pop everything out. I don't have the red embossing powder, so I just choose this velvety red ink, and which I bought from a long time ago from John's $1 bin. But yeah, I suggest you to go ahead and use red embossing powder and green embossing powder on this, and that's gonna give you a really nice effect. Then just I didn't feel that this tree stand out, so I need to make a mark all over it. I'm again using the Prisma markers here and the T-square ruler to just make sure that the bottom of tree is really nice and straight. Then I just trim off little bit of it. I want to show that little bit of silver on all over, and then put foam tape all over it. I'm not doubling it, I just want a little bit of shaker, not too much. And then I just decided to put a little bit of snow which came from the last year kit, and little bit of beads and some of those star sequence from the Darcy's. I really love them. Those are pretty nice. I bought them from Consumer Craft, but I think you can get them on Simmons's also. So I just put them and put my tree scale, so I that kind of put the card very straight. This paper is a little bit thin, so you have to careful while using this paper. I'm working with this paper. Then decided to stamp the Christmas time, although in the camera it's not looking nice there, but in real life it is like nice and bright. Now I just chose the another paper. I cut out it half and decided to use those three like people are singing something I don't know, and then I stamped the shell out of Santa there, and then just make a drift with the hand and put those people there, and then make another drift, kind of layering, and I use the blue color there, and then stamp one Christmas tree. And these inks are quite intense one, and you need a time to dry those, so I stamped those first and then decided to go ahead with and color this. Now I'm not following the rainbow colors, I just choose the colors which I like, the nice and bright festival colors, and rather than going with the red and green, I choose more colors. And this color is kind of take those alcohol marker colors, and then you're gonna see that how beautiful paper we gonna get, and we can create the custom made. Here you can choose the whatever color you want, or whatever you want to match the color, your theme or something like that. I like these colors, so I choose those vibrant colors to it, and I use this roller scaler to kind of roll it properly. But you don't have to use this, you can just follow the lines of those small squares are there, and you are good to go. Most of the times I use the rough paper or the tapping paper while working. I don't want to ruin my mat every time and cleaning it, so in that way. And most of the time those papers are like which I use for the rough areas, rough sketches and something like that. I don't want to waste the paper also. So after that I decided to put this on the small scale A2 size cardstock, which is 4 1/4 by 5, and now you can see that this paper is pretty thin, so you need to really work hard and a bit conscious with you dealing with that. And then decided to put this all over it. Then I thought the leftover from that piece I can use here, but it kind of became more hodgepodge, and I don't want to put any glue on this vellum paper, so I just go into my stash. I got this pista color shimmery paper strips. Is already cut there, so maybe it's from I don't know which project. And then I decided to put them on top and bottom, so I have a place to glue. At the same time it will stand out little bit. And then I'm just putting a little bit of hero art blinks there, the 3 blinks on the side, and I put the 1 blink on the that Christmas tree, and little bit of green glossy green no drops behind the camera. Now I'm choosing here Bristol Smooth White paper stock. It's a watercolor paper, and then I'm using cracked pistachio, carp pumpkin, and a little bit of salty ocean, and just spritz this lots of time. I want really that distressed look on it. This is a pretty simple card. You can produce this card like mass producing this card. And then I put all those small elves and creator image with them in a same line, and I just make a little bit of practice before I stamping them rather than putting directly on the stamp. And then I use that one of the strip which is the leftover from my first card, and that gonna give a nice thing. Somehow I don't know where is my elves at work stamp set. I didn't found it properly, but if you have that you can use that. And this time I'm using the watercolor markers here. These are Zig Clean color markers, and those are nice pretty small tips on them, brush tips on them, so it's little bit easy to work. You can see that although I'm using the 2 colors, it hardly see those, but give a little bit of shading to it. And don't bother to color them because they are pretty small and pretty small images, and so you can go ahead and color them in a 1 color. That gonna also look really nice. Then I just color them in a red and green dress. I like that way, and cause that gonna pop on all those background here. And I feel that my gifts are floating. I didn't stamp them properly, so then I just fix that with the adding little bit of brown base. It will act like a stool or the bench to them. And all the elves are so cute. You can use them in a stamp, those stamps in the small tags, and they're gonna look really nice. Add a little bit of yellow here and there, and just decided to add little small details, nothing fancy. It's pretty simple card. And then I decided that I should just put that on the card base, and then I'll put any glossy accent or no drops. Always do that cause glossy accent and no drops took a longer time to dry properly, so put them first on the card base, all the sheets on the card base, and the last thing you can add the glossy accent and keep them aside for drying whole night, and that's gonna work really nice. And then I'm just putting those rather than putting glossy accent, I'm using the paint, liquor paint came in the kit, and adding little bit of here and there. And you see I messed there, but no, don't worry, I'll just fix that by little bit rubbing off and using the craft knife there, so it's okay. It's not gonna look that much. Now you can stamp that elves at work. I didn't see, I don't know where I lost my stamp, so I decided to put this stamp, and this is from the last year kits which says the have a magical holidays. Now I'm using here Blueprint 27 die from MFT, and 1 bigger rectangle die from Simon's Stitch rectangle. And then I cut out all the parts apart from the watercolor paper, and then decided to stamp some of the small critters and images on those small 3 parts, and in the big part I will put the Santa's workstation. And I want this card pretty simple. You can mass produce this card also. You can make this card as a shaker card. I didn't. I used this silver embossing powder which came in a kit, and I prepped my cardstock before that with the EK Success powder, and then I gonna heat set that. Now I just skip that process cause it's nothing to show. And I just heat set it. I heat set one of the jars also, and I die cut out it from the jar die. And then this is not came in a kit, but yeah, Hero Art's having this kind of die in their last year Christmas collection. Then I'm just choosing the little bit of colors I want. I choose the cracked pistachio, again the car pumpkin, the abandoned coral, and then I use a little bit of, I think, the red also. I choose which oh my god, I forgot. I just decided to use whatever colors on my desk, and sometimes I choose the pretty colors that I'm using over again and again. Some of them are my favorite, like the salty ocean and cracked pistachio. Yeah, and then caddy and apple I use for the red. And this is the only the procedure that how I took the gradient effect on that frame. You can put color all over it, but by doing this you can pop out the things and adding your more color. Then I add a little bit of pink raspberry also to make it more vibrant. I don't want the white there, but I want little bit of glow there, which kind of giving me a white background. Then I just sweep off all the things, my hands too, and then I decided to put all these things together. Now at this moment you can create this card into shaker card. I don't want to, so I just put one layer frame in there, so it giving me little bit of in a kind of dimension there. And you can use the foam tape also, but I don't want that much dimension, so I just put one layer and then put the another layer. So this completes the card. This is pretty simple, and I'm decided to putting those Santa and Santa's wife in between the place where the Santa's workshop and everything. I'm using here a clean color, Zig clean color markers to color, nothing fancy, the same red and green color combination. I really like that combination. And the Santa is too small, he gonna pop up like that way. And for the tag also I decided to stamp Merry Christmas, and after that I just again put that Santa and Santa's wife there, and they're kind of waving. Here you can put her pie which came in a kit in there. And this is the simplest way to add the snowflake, by just adding a pen line and then adding little bit of liquor paint there, and that is kind of matching card with it. And yeah, so if your supplies it out, you can use multiple things or mass producing the things. And then I'm putting that liquor paint everything, so that they're gonna, after drying, they're gonna look like glossy. And then I put little bit of snow on that liquor paint to just see that it gonna stick or not, and that's gonna stick really nicely after drying. And then decided to put little bit of those stars. I'm obsessed with those stars, I really like them, and decided to add more snow there. So I used a white color. It's not a Nouveau drop, it's a chemical white color, but you can use a Nouveau drops with that. And that snow, I think Nouveau has also that snow kind of thing with them. And after drying it, I used the lace which came, the ribbon, organza ribbon came to make that tag. And if you watch my video before, I already stamped those elf art work on the watercolor paper, and it's a printed watercolor. I didn't color it, so I want to use that. You can convert that into tag, but I decided to make a different card this time. I have one circle, and this paper is a little bit textured. I bought it from India, and then just decided to add more colors. So here I am using the painter's tape, but you can use the washi tape, you can use the masking tape, or you can use only the paper. You need to more control with that. Just make sure that whenever you're changing your tape, washi tape or this painter tape, that color gonna transfer on the paper. So you have to put all that sides together when you color them. Means if you are working with the yellow, then put the yellow and green together. And if you think that these tapes are totally contaminated, just throw them and use the new one. So in that way you will get a nice effects. And you can see one more thing, that I'm putting little bit of line there, so that one color gonna mix with the other very nicely. Otherwise you may get a white line there, as I get it in first time. So there is nothing special order in this. I just choose the color whatever I want, or whatever are sitting on my desk, and I add little bit more color to them. then that leftover piece, with that I decided to use that. I want everything little bit of pink and purple shades, then I distress it. This is not a watercolor paper, so it's not going to distress that way. Then I'm choosing one hero art cubes to, you know, kind of getting more color all around it, and somehow I don't like it, so I decided to grab the color box golden ink and just smooth it off in all over. You can here you can take that silver embossing powder and dip your corners of those circles in the Versamark ink, and you can dip the powder and heat set that. The same thing I do the jar before I make the jar tag, but I just choose the golden one this time, and then just put little bit of fountain behind all of them, so it can get me the same height at the time. And then I put that. You can create and convert it into tag, but I decided to convert it into card. And then I put again those small stars and little bit of a white thing. Then these are the options, that these have a very colorful rainbow pretty color background, so you can choose any background card color for that. I decided to go with a white, and I don't like that white is too much white and there's nothing on that, so I decided to stamp happy holiday with the same color box ink. I have the bigger palette and the smaller one. So yeah, so now after stamping that, quickly I just put the whole thing on the panel, and that completes this last card. I hope you enjoyed this series. You can watch and see more card series and Christmas cards on my channel, and watch the previous card series also. You may get a different ideas with it. You can add more pictures and see more pictures. I'm adding a little bit of shimmer here. Quickly I'm saying a little bit of white to just kind of balancing everything white there. And yeah, you can watch the more detailed pictures on my blog if you want to. And I'll again post the second part of this series. So if you like it, hit a subscribe button, hit it like, leave in comment what you feel about it, what you want to see again. And until the next crafty project, have a crafty life. Bye bye.